Hi ladies. I'm just going to begin. I really don't know yet. This is so cool, these masks. You're not probably going to see my face too much. I haven't really figured out how to connect these things so I can have the board to explain you things. Look at this. This is so cool, isn't it? It's so cool. Look at me, I'm a gangster. This is so cool. Right, so I haven't really figured out another way of doing this so you can actually see my whole body and what I'm about to explain. But it doesn't really matter as long as you can actually hear me. That'll be the most important thing. Right, so today's topic is going to be two topics today. One is about the 3 states of mind, which I will explain in more detail in a sec. And the other one is about clearing memory. So it turns out that we can actually program our mind to clear some of our memories. And I will explain why it's actually important to clear that memory. I don't know if it's actually best to just get rid of this mask. Let's have a look. There's so many of them. Let's not have any. Cool. That's better. Awesome. Okay, so here we are. We're just gonna have which color I'm going to, the one that would be seen better. I don't know. Let's have a look. That's green. I'm gonna go for red. Maybe that would be seen better. So we're gonna have the 3 states of mind. All right? If you cannot really see it, you will be able to hear me, so that's the most important thing. So the 3 states of mind come this way. Okay, so this is what is called 0. The 0 zone. That's the divine. That's high consciousness. That's wholeness. That's the beginning of time, the beginning of everything. Or Z. They call it Z. Okay? This is inspiration, or I, they call it. Inspiration. And this is memory. So these are the 3 states of mind. I'm just going to touch upon those 3 one at a time. But the thing is that we can only be in one of those states at a time. Okay? We can't be on 3 of them at a time. This 0, this Z, called 0, wholeness. Zero. That's the infinite. That's the void, what they call the void, the beginning of everything. And that's you and me as well. That's what they call love. Alright? Now inspiration. It's wisdom. It's obviously inspiration, where you are inspired. And it's also information. Bear with me. It will make sense. And if it doesn't, there is not much I can do. Now, this is data. This is data. This is information. And this is memory. Now, as I said, you can only be at one at a time. So, to get into this state, which actually gives us the more freedom, inner peace, that's just wholeness. That's us. obviously we want to be as much in here as possible so we can experience as much joy, we can get more of this inspiration, we can get we can just feel inner peace at all time, freedom at all time, but getting here is really, really difficult. So when we are, most of the time, most of the people, we are actually living here in this what is called memory state of mind. All right, and it is about 90% of memory is actually stored in our subconscious mind. So as you can imagine, we have very, very difficulty on tapping into this part over here and this one. Okay, to really tap into this and this, we need to start clearing this part over here, which is the subconscious mind. Now I'm just going to delete this part over here at the top because I like to show you. Well, maybe I'll do it here on this part. Imagine just a mountain. All right? And this tip over here that you see at the very top, that I'm highlighting, if you see it, that's the conscious mind. That tip, very, very tip that you see here, that's what we are really aware of in life. It's a very tiny percentage of the things that we do, things that it's here in this conscious mind. This is our awareness, our current awareness. Now, unfortunately, this old thing that you see here is filled with memory. All of that is filled with memory. It's all stuff that is completely unnecessary. And we store it in here, in this subconscious mind. That's 90% of this data and information that we receive on a day-to-day basis. It's there, and we are completely unaware. We are programmed, and unless we create new programs to undo those memories, to erase and eradicate that memory, we will not be able to get here onto this middle section, which is when our ideas come to life. Now, let me just explain something that is really important. This inspiration, when you get any form of idea, it doesn't really come from you. It doesn't come from me. It doesn't. Everything that you see that is created doesn't come directly from you. This inspiration comes from the divine, comes from this part over here, from wholeness, from the void, from the absolute. This is the absolute. Absolute. Okay? Now, wholeness, this zero, this represents the law of interconnection. The law of interconnection. Everything, absolutely everything, and every one of us is actually connected. Everything. So that zero, this zero over here is actually was it a formula that was created by Albert Einstein. He came up with that zero. But obviously before that, visionaries of all time, when we did not have the time and the space and time sorted out, which is obviously all an illusion. But before it was all sorted out, it was primarily people that were these visionaries, these very top spiritual people that were really in contact with Mother Earth as much as possible and with high consciousness. And in being in that high consciousness state, they can actually be inspired. Now, we are always receiving inspiration from the divine, from the higher consciousness, however you want to call it. Call it the universe, you can call it God, you can call it higher powers, you can call it however you like. But they're already, this divine power is always sending us inspiration. The only issue is that because we are piling up with memory, we don't really see, we're not really aware of that inspiration. Obviously, meditation is a form to be in that state of, clearing clearing away any data from what you see, what you hear, and then you can receive more inspiration. But there are other ways as well to do it, which is to clear this data over here. In another video, I will be touching more on a technique that I've been using now for a while and is working really well for me. But the main important thing is that you act upon the inspiration when it comes through. Any sort of ideas, and if you haven't really read my ebook yet, I suggest that you do it. There is a section there that is an exercise that you can tap into, where you start to write down all your skills, all your abilities, everything that you are good at, all your talents. We all have our own gifts and talents. So you just sit down, take the moment to write those down, because those are actually assets, and it will help you in future. When inspiration comes in, when an idea comes in, you never know if you can actually utilize those skills. So main important thing here is to start clearing out this memory as much as possible. Is pretty a lot. It's 90% that we are completely unaware of. We are unconscious. It's just sitting down in that subconscious mind of ours, and it just keeps on piling. That's all like debris that needs to be cleared. So if 90% is a lot, we have to be doing this clearing on a constant basis to be in this zero state as much as possible. So the main key here factor is that when you get your ideas, you start writing them down. That is actually inspiration being sent to you, and you'll be surprised what one idea can actually do. Once you start writing down those ideas, and then you tap into one of those ideas and you decide to go for it, then, as I explained on my ebook, one step at a time, one baby step at a time, will get you to wherever you want to go. The issue with setting goals that the majority of people fail, which unfortunately is the majority of them, is about 98% are not successful. It's quite high, and that's one of my main reasons why I started setting up this business. Just one of the main reasons. The main reason why they fail is because they look at the end point. The end result looks really far away. Let's give you an example. Someone that wants to lose weight, why do they keep failing? They keep on going back into trying a new diet, a new way. It's because of this data over here. These are beliefs that are stored in our subconscious mind, and until they are actually cleared, they won't be able to get there. Now, of course, there are some people that lose weight and they've done some exercise, they've changed their diet, and they've achieved it. But there is a huge amount of people that they don't manage, and it's because of their belief system. It's because of this data over here. This information hasn't been cleared. So deep down, their subconscious mind doesn't really believe that they can achieve it. So this happens with everything. We just need to act upon those ideas, and we need to enjoy the process as much as possible. If you at first might feel that it's not enjoyable, because you are really looking at the big picture, at all the things that really need to be done in order to get to your end result. But there is something called the compound effect. You can look into it as well, the compound effect. Compound effect. So if you look at, if you imagine a domino, you've got a domino here and another one sitting back and so forth, right? The minute that you knock this one, it will knock out, the rest of them. And then you've got the big goal sitting at the end, right? But you're not really looking at this, at the end result. It's too much, it's overwhelming. So we don't look at that. What we look is at, knocking one of each pieces of this domino. So we get the domino effect. That's called the compound effect. And that brings me to the next thing, which is this inspiration, which just can't come to mind. It's also the law of cause and effect. everything that we do in life, and you're gonna see reading the ebook that I wrote, I write a lot about laws. These are laws, you can't change them. In the same way that gravity exists, and we don't really we don't question whether gravity is there or not. We don't question whether electricity exists or not. We don't question whether energy exists or not. It just is. The law of cause and effect is another thing. So when you get inspiration, that's a cause, and the effect will be determined by this compound effect that I'm actually showing here. So you do one step at a time until eventually you get there. The effect is actually your big goal. But if you don't act, the law of cause and effect is still active. It's a law, regardless whether you act on it or not. It's still there. The fact is that if you don't act, then there is no result. What you might actually feel is despondent. You might feel, completely a lack of clarity in things, a lack of joy, a lack of motivation, and all those kind of things are the actual effect. Everything has a cause and an effect, and everything that we do is actually driven by these laws. We just need to tap into those laws as much as possible to get the best out of us. So the next thing that I would like next and probably the last part, is just the clearing that memory. It's amazing because recently I've just certified, I'm just a practitioner to clear this kind of memory. And there are many techniques to clear that memory. One of the things would be to send you back in time, back to your past. That's what they do with hypnosis. When they do regression, what they do is that I always refer to these loops. It helps me because I have to clear lots of these. But let's say that this is a story that you're repeating over and over and over, because it's actually on your subconscious mind. This is kind of a loop, but it's not closed. Do you see this gap over here? Well, I don't know if you see it, but there is a gap in there. That loop hasn't been closed completely. And if it hasn't been closed completely from a story that you keep repeating over and over in your mind, in the subconscious mind, it will keep on repeating over and over. It's just going on in that loop in circles. So regression, what it does, it takes you back into the past memory, and then it closes that loop. Okay, it takes you back to feel and experience again that memory, and then as you relive it, then you close that loop. So that regression is one of them, which actually you can program yourself to do that as well. You don't need to pay someone, but there are certain stories, certain trauma that we've gone through that it is actually best to do it with someone that knows the steps to get you there, because obviously you don't want to traumatize your body too much. So that's one way, but there is another way that you can do as well to clear that memory, many in fact. And the one that I've just qualified, I'd like to share with you in another video. I will be actually sharing that with you. Now, it is a technique that is very simplistic, but it's tedious because you have to do it over and over and over. However, as I do believe that the divine is actually perfect, is whole, this void, this love, this absolute, it has no potholes. It's actually designed for perfection. We are not, human beings are not perfect. We have our potholes and we have our limitations, but the actual divine, it's infinite. We can get to our infinite powers, but we need to know how to get there in the first place. So because of this absolute being as powerful as it is, it creates ways for us to actually clear this data. So another way to do is to actually program our inner child. We all have our inner child. I have the inner Raquel, the inner girl Raquel inside of me as well, and I can go into my little Raquel and program her to start doing this clearing for me. I can do it consciously, or I can actually program this inner child of mine to do it for me on a 24/7. So the more I clear this data, the more free we become, the more we can actually tap into this inspiration and the ideas that we receive, and the more freedom we actually feel. So I think I've touched in a lot of stuff that I could go more and more, but I think that today it was just, I think that I've ticked the 2 boxes that I wanted to tap upon. And please do actually ask questions if something is actually not clear. And I want you to know as well that this is my own journey. This is not something that I'm making up myself. There are some things that come from inspiration that are sent to me, and then I'm sharing it with other people. For example, the way that this was actually shown to me, and the way that I'm linking them to the compound effect, to the law of interconnection, to the law of cause and effect, that actually comes from inspiration that's been passed to me. But any kind of, the numbers that I give you, this kind of 3 states of mind, that is all done by other people, all the research that they've done as well. In fact, these 3 states of mind I've actually learned from a famous doctor, psychologist, that managed, through this technique that I've just qualified, he actually managed to clear, I would say, to free up a group of criminals that were in a psychiatric ward. So they were not only mentally ill, but they were also criminals. So they had committed quite severe crimes. And what this man did was, he never really worked one-on-one with these people, but he looked at their files, and then he started to work within himself. And by doing this work within himself, he started to clear this data, because we're all interconnected. Always. If you are, if you look at your child is, uneasy or feels scared or whatever, always ask yourself, what is it going on within me that my son, my child, or my father, or whatever, is feeling that way? We are mirrors of each other. But I would actually like to leave that topic to the next video, where I will touch upon more. I'm just waiting to receive that inspiration to tell me, yes, you can actually teach these women how to clear this memory, because as I've been taught, this is a technique that you do on yourself. Not so much, it's nothing to do with the other people, it's to do with what's going on in yourself. You clear this data for yourself, and ultimately it benefits the rest. But if this inspiration comes to me and tells me, yes, go through and pass on this knowledge to these women, I will then do so. Okay? I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that at least you've actually learned just one thing. I'll be really happy if you did learn just one thing, if this more or less did make sense to you. Ask questions. There are questions that I cannot answer them, I would say that I cannot answer them. This is really deep stuff. I'm touching here quantum mechanics, I'm touching here psychology, I'm touching here stuff that is really deep, but in a very simplistic manner, in the way that it's been shown to me, and in the way that I can show to other people and make sense to me, again through some of the inspiration that is being sent to me, my own research, and and my own experiences as well. Okay, I come as well from a lot of traumatic experiences in the past, so I've done a lot of my own therapy, and I hope that you had enjoyed this. Okay, so until the next one, see you guys, bye bye.